Hey everybody, I hope you are doing well. I am Afefe with Touch by Tarot, and I am recording this on a Thursday, August 10th. I am going to start to do, for the political stuff that I've been doing recently, I want to stick with it. You all seem to be really interested in it. I love it as well. I'm going to mix that in, of course, with my more spiritual stuff, but so I can have a schedule and so that you will know when to expect it. You'll know when, the best day to tune in and kind of vibe with me. Let's do our little updates together. I am thinking about many of our common friends, Susan Lynn, psychic medium. Absolutely love her, don't you? But she has her Way Out Wednesdays, and it's beautiful. Like the subjects that she covers and the way she goes about it, you gotta love Susan. Can't help it. I absolutely adore her. But that got me to thinking, okay, so you will know what to expect. I'm going to start to do a think tank Thursdays, all right? And that'll be my political reading. So every week on a Thursday, I'm going to do Think Tank Thursdays, and this will be episode 1 of that. Today, you all, Ron DeSantis, because we must. For now, we got to stay on top of that. One day he will go, off into obscurity, but we got a ways before that will happen. As I was in meditation this morning preparing to tape, what Spirit gave me as the title for this episode, first episode of Think Tank Thursdays, is A Snowman Headed to a Bonfire. Because we know we have the first GOP debate from the candidates coming up, and of course Ron DeSantis is qualified as the second, way behind Donald Trump, but the leader of the rest of the pack. So that's going to take place on August 23rd in Milwaukee. That takes place on a Wednesday, you all. I looked it up. So for sure, we're going to do a Think Tank Thursday on August 24th. But anyway, wanted to kind of do a recap. And then I'm going to do a couple of cards. Going to go to Spirit because I want to see how he's going to perform. Let's take a look at how Ron DeSantis is going to perform. He doesn't debate well. He did, he skated by. There's been so much hoopla made about how badly he trounced Christ in the governor's race in November. But you got to remember, you all, that was, Charlie Crist was a horrible candidate. He came with a lot, he was Republican, then he was Democrat, then he was Independent, then he was, we didn't know who he was or what he was. And also the party, the DNC, they felt like it was a lost cause. There was no money poured into the state to really, do a really viable, hard, boots on the ground fight. So, of course, DeSantis ran away with that. That said, unfortunately for the state of Florida, stuck with him until 2026. Really, really bad. But back to the presidential campaign. So, it's been an eventful week for Ron DeSantis. Did you all catch the coverage with Dasha Burns of NBC? Really interesting. We know that DeSantis is being pressured to do more mainstream national media because just doing right-wing media, not going to get it. He's got to, he's being forced to broaden his stance, get out there. If you're going to do this, you got to get out there with more than talk. You got to be visible. You got to interact with people. So Dasha Burns, you go, girl. Only, 31, 32 years old? Sharp little cookie. Really appreciated, the job that she did. And so she gets together with him first to get him on the record, get DeSantis on the record saying, guess what? Trump lost. Point blank, period. He squirmed. Man, he did not want to have to admit that and say it, but ultimately he put his feet to the fire and said, yes, come on, you got to give us something here. And he said it. All right, so now that's on the record. Let's see what the MAGAites do to him based on that. The other thing I thought was really interesting is we had a chance to see a real close-up of Casey DeSantis, who, she's really running that operation big time, and a lot has been said about that and the role that she plays with him and in his campaign. But when she took over and said, I wish that I knew how to do more editing, and I'm going to get to that one day where I could flash some of the backdrop on the screen for you all. But there was a part, you probably remember, where in the interview when they're on his campaign bus, And it's when Casey decides to speak up and do her spiel, with the fake tears coming about how he's just such an incredible husband, and giving her cancer scare. Which, all respect to that, she is a mother. That is a horrible disease. So I wish the best for her with that, her continued recovery. But she reaches, so they're clasping, clenched hands on this bus, on the campaign bus, and they're just ha ha ha, he, blah blah blah. When she prepares to, he released her hand. Talk about body language. Ron released Casey's hand. So he's sitting there stiff as ever, And she's going to, and he did this, and with all humility, while I was ill, he went to pick up our kids from school. And people have gone off on social media about that. Like, oh, wow, the guy's humble enough to go pick up his kids because his wife has cancer. Like, it didn't go over very well, Casey. But what was interesting to me was, at a certain point, while she's saying this, she has her hand on his thigh in a kind of dominant gesture. She's resting her hand on his thigh while she's talking, making her point, like, you settle down, I'm making my point. And at another point, she realizes her body language is off, so she doesn't know what to do with her hand. She reaches over and snatches his hand and grabs it and puts it back over in her lap so that they're clasped together. I think that was very telling, you all. I'd be interested if you all caught that, or go back and watch that segment and let me know what you thought. I thought that body language between the two of them said everything about the dynamic of their relationship. All right, so moving on. He has the interview with Dasha Burns. He manages to get through that. It's, it is what it is. I think that certainly the highlight of that is for finally someone got him on the record to come out and say, Trump lost. All right, now moving on. We also have him, DeSantis and Newsom, Gavin Newsom out of California. And there's this whole, stage that's being set, and drama that's playing out between the Californication of the U.S. Newsom, of course, is, it's no big secret. I think people realize that he's sort of got his eyes on a 2028 run, right? Cool, do your thing, Gavin. But so now he's been, he and Ron have been chit at one another, and supposedly there may be, I don't think it's been finalized, but there may be a debate between the two where, do we want to Californicate the United States, or do we want to Floridinate the United States? Clean energy versus, this absolute dictatorship. It is unbelievable what he's doing. We're going to get to some more of that in a moment. But I think it would be a really interesting thing. DeSantis tried to bait Kamala Harris after she came down here in response to the education passage of the eradicating, real teaching around slavery. Just absolute, let's make it up. Slavery was a jobs program. And so we know Kamala came here, appeared in Orlando, and said, and I'm going to get to that in a moment, why I think that's important, came to Orlando and said, you know what, this man has lost his mind. This is not right. All right. He turns around and says, well, you want to debate me about it? And she said, basically, GFY, go yourself, right? I mean, she said, as if, like, why would I even do that? Like, I am the vice president. I hold the second highest office in the land. And here you are out here scrambling, just trying to get within inches of Donald Trump. Like, for real, we are not on the same playing field, Mr. Sir. Okay. So that went by the wayside. So now he's got his, his sights set on baiting Gavin Newsom into a debate. All right, we'll see whether or not that actually happens. I'm here for it, though, if it does. I'd be interested to see. I think Newsom will. The only thing is, I understand that the one of the conditions that DeSantis has put on it is that it has to be done by Fox and Hannity. So Newsom's going to have to really be, that's going to take a lot of prep in order to make sure that it's not, so far tilted against him, because he's definitely going to be walking into the lion's den for that. But let's keep our eyes posted on that. So then Also this week, DeSantis fires his campaign manager. We know that he's already fired, over a third of his campaign staff because he's been burning through money. He has his major donor, Robert Bigelow, the hotel magnate, gave him $20 million, and Bigelow has come out and said, you know what? I'm going to have to pull the plug on my money until, Ron, you get yourself together. You got to get some more legitimate donors. I'm not here to piggy bank all of your campaign. So he's come down hard and said, I got to pull back some of my money. Although 20 million, like, whoa. And he's already burned through that. That's gone. So Bigelow's like, I'm not giving you any more money until you do that. And until you adopt a more moderate approach. I understand that Bigelow is saying he understands that, in order for DeSantis to run as an anti-Trump candidate, he's got to appeal to a broader base. He can't just keep going so far to the extreme right. I'm no fan of Bigelow giving this man $20 million, but that'll be really interesting to see what adjustments Ron DeSantis makes, if any, because that's a big donor that's sitting there saying, guess what? I'm putting my wallet back in my pocket for now. We'll see what happens with that. Finally, you guys, before we get to the cards, his latest move in the last couple of days, I'm sure you all have heard, he has suspended Orlando State Attorney Monique Royal. She won that area, elected office, won that area by 67% of the vote. DeSantis has accused her of being soft on crime because he doesn't like the way she has or has not prosecuted certain cases in her district. He did the same thing last year. Second Democratic elected state attorney that he has fired in the last year. A year ago this time, he fired or suspended, what's his name? I wrote it down. Andrew Warren, a Jewish man, by the way. Monique Royal is black. DeSantis comes up, of course, he comes with, what's his name, Baines. He comes up with a black replacement for her to sort of head off that theory of racism, right? But we also find out, you take a look up this guy Baines. He belongs to the Federalist Society. Tells you everything you need to know, all right? But Andrew Warren is also, because Andrew Warren, he was ticked off at him because of his stance on abortion. So any progressive Democrats, in any particularly blue-leaning counties, which Orlando is, that's definitely what DeSantis has on his, in his sights, to absolutely dismantle any power structures that are there. All right? Okay. I think it's all going to backfire on him, you all. I really do. And that's why the title of this first segment of Think Tank Thursdays is A Snowman Headed for a Bonfire. Because when he goes to this debate, his first debate at the end of the month, he has driven himself, this whole, I want to do what I'm doing in Florida for the United States. Well, guess what, you all? Florida has the highest inflation rate by far in the country. Housing and rents here are the highest in the country, or they were, at least I think as of a week ago. I need to look those stats up again. But really, it's really becoming unaffordable to be here. He is also touting in terms of combating Newsom. He's saying that whereas California has been losing residents at a high rate, people are fleeing California due to high costs and other reasons. And he's saying, he's touting the idea that Florida, meanwhile, has gained close to, I think the stats are close to 1 million residents since COVID. Yes, it is true that because of the way Florida, the weather, being open, not having the high rises, the condensed metropolitan feel of places like New York, New Jersey, other places in the Northeast. A lot of people, and then the surge of remote work, since COVID, during COVID for sure, and even since COVID with hybrid working situations. Yes, a lot of people moved here. That does not mean that living in Florida, and I say here because I'm in Florida, that doesn't mean that living in the state of Florida has become some, paradise. Far from it. So there's going to be a lot of people, I think Chris Christie, I cannot wait to see what he has to say. We know he doesn't stand a chance, but you got to give the guy some credit for it being, one of the most vocal people coming out and saying some of the things that need to be said that realistically people understand. And I think those who are more moderate Republicans, more traditional Republicans, whether or not they support Chris Christie, understand at least his perspective and the fact that he's been willing to give voice to what a lot of us are thinking. So that's going to be absolutely amazing to see. I want to see what he has to say, and I also want to see how, it's going to be interesting to see how Tim Scott lines up against him. Trump, of course, is still hedging his bets on whether or not he's going to deign to make his grand appearance. If he does, I really kind of sort of hope he does. I think it will really be a test, not just for Ron DeSantis, but for Tim Scott, who seems to be, the third in line behind DeSantis to sort of make some headway. There's been some talk about whether ultimately, if Trump gets the nomination, which it looks like he probably will, if he will tap Tim Scott as his VP. And certainly Tim Scott would go for it. Would not work in a million years between Trump and DeSantis. I think that bridge has been burned. But we'll see what happens. So let's go to Spirit, you guys, and wrap this up. Spirit, please show us Ron DeSantis on August 23rd at the first GOP debate in Milwaukee. Ron DeSantis on August 23rd at the first GOP debate in Milwaukee. How will he perform and what will be the outcome as it pertains to Ron DeSantis at that GOP debate on August 23rd in Milwaukee? Let's see. All right. At the bottom of the deck, we have, this is really interesting. We have the Two of Pentacles. So there's some decisions. It says decisions on this deck, on this card. This is basically a juggling act. He will perform to a certain extent. It's going to be pluses and minuses. And he's still making decisions around how to frame his platform. That's been one weakness of his, is that he really doesn't have a platform. He went from this whole anti-woke, anti-corporate, anti-woke thing, and now with the suspension of Monique Royal, now his thing is, his whole spiel is being tough on crime. Florida is a law and order state. I think the decisions that we're seeing there is he's still got to hammer down what am I, what is my platform? What do I intend to do? What is my policy for America? My Page of Swords, my plan for America. Page of Swords comes, and it says, I'm using, by the way, the Godfather Tarot. I thought, why not? Tough on crime. Do your thing, Ron. Page of Swords. And it says there, contracts. He's making some deals with donors ahead of time. And he's having lots of conversations. His decisions are going to be made on what he thinks can bring him the most financial backing out of that. So he's tilting his presentation, his responses. We have the Eight of Wands. A lot of bluster, a lot of bravado. And but this is also how they're going to come at him, you all. See how it says there on the side, sudden change, movement and sudden change? I love this deck. But that's going to be, he's going to have to pivot, and he's not going to be comfortable with that. That's him having to pivot on that debate stage, because they are coming for him. That 8 is representing the other candidates who are going to attend, who are coming for him. He's going to have to learn how to pivot, and that's the Page of Swords coming as well, because they're going to his campaign folk are going to have to really work with him, and we don't have a lot of time. Today is August 10th. We're talking August 23rd. He's going to have to learn how to pivot and anticipate what he thinks is coming at him. I don't know. We have the World. It's going to be the beginning of the end for him. It says here, success and completion. In a different kind of reading, it would indicate that, but we're talking about his performance in this debate on the 23rd. The world for me means it's bringing an end to his ability to really attract the glam, the talk, the spin, the new guy, the young guy, the greater, or not greater, but the newer version and cleaner version and less chaotic version of Donald Trump. That is coming to an end. The Queen of Wands is his wife. She's the only thing probably that people still are looking at him as if, and she comes with the moon, so we're definitely looking at Casey. Queen of Wands and the moon. Between now and then, we're going to hear more from her. And to the extent that he's still, of course, he's not like, even if he bombs on the 23rd, he's still going to be in the running. He's going to be in the running until Iowa. And we'll see. We'll do a lot more between now and then on that, on the outcome from the Iowa caucus in January of 24. But Casey's going to come, she's going to try to come to the rescue. We're going to be seeing more of her, both, I think, leading up to the debate. And she's starting to have, that's what Spirit is saying, you all. She's starting to have some major concerns. On this deck, I love, they put a little thing here, crisis of faith on the moon card. See that? Right there on the side, crisis of faith. Casey, she's going to do everything she can to appear, notice Queen of Wands. We know Queen of Wands always shows confident, but it even says up top there, creative and confident, right? Casey's gonna, everything's fine. He's the best. He's the most wonderful guy ever. Okay, she's gonna play her role, but she's starting to get worried as well. She sees the world card. She sees things coming to a certain end, and like she's already starting to think, if none of this works, what now? Because if he doesn't do it now, Ron DeSantis is not going to be a factor in 2028. It would take a minor miracle and a whole, like, there would just have to be no one else who between 2024 and 2028 who emerges as someone viable for the party, for the GOP party, because he's like he's going to be an all or nothing candidate. And finally, you all, I have the Six of Swords. He's going to come out of that debate putting on a brave face that it's time for him to move forward, but I think he already is going to be able to see the doors closing on him. Knight of Wands. Yeah, he's going to see the door, and he's going to start to want to make deals between, okay, I got it. He's Nine of Cups and the Knight of Wands. This is a wish card. This is what he wants to have happen. And he's going to want to talk with people. The Knight of Wands, he's going to, and it says here, notice, it says speed and offer. Because we know Wands is moving quickly, but it's an offer. It's wheeling and dealing. The Knight of Wands, he's going to have a mixed performance, not so hot. And I don't see it being disastrous, but it's not going to elevate him. It's not going to bring him to within 5 points of Donald Trump, by no means. All right. He is going to come out of that debate on the 23rd, ready to talk with people and realize that he's going to need more coalitions, and whether that's reaching out and again revamping his campaign staff, his donors, but he's going to come out of it scrambling and trying to make some backroom deals, because this is, his wish is to keep going no matter what. He feels like he still has time. A lot of coverage around him is saying he still has time. We got to give him that time between now and the Iowa caucus. January, all bets are off. He's at a crossroads. Really interesting. It ends with the Two of Swords. Yeah. And it says even here, stalemate, crossroads. So there you have it. Spirit has confirmed it, you all. And what we're seeing is right. We're on track with it. It's going to be a mixed bag. Definitely, it's not going to, he'll still have a campaign when it's done, but this will not close the gap between him and Donald Trump. This is going to leave him scrambling more for donors and for people in his campaign staff, those who can really help him, because this is not going to give him the lift that he needs. And on the home front, Casey is starting to worry. All right, you all. That's it for Think Tank Thursdays. I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week ahead. Talk to you soon. Bye.